Hello all. I'm here with a special pop-up living figuratively at the Butler Institute of American Art. I'm here to see the Go Figure Show, which is a special exhibition where they've pulled out pieces from their collection, figurative pieces, of course, from their collection and put them out on display. As many of you might know, a lot of museums have like only 10% of what is in their collection out on display. Some even like 2%. So it's a rare treat to be able to see some of the other stuff that isn't on display normally. Right now you'll have to excuse the construction noises in the background, so I'm going to try to talk extra loud. Right behind me here is a gorgeous piece by Burton Silverman, one of the portrait artists, that is one of my personal favorite legends. But I'm going to flip the camera around so we can all see, and you won't have to worry about seeing me too much. There. All right, so here's a Burton Silverman, and it is Untitled Portrait of Eleanor Beecher Flad. And I don't think this is part of the Go Figure collection. I think this is just a piece that is here. Now we're going to walk down the hall to the Go Figure collection, which is in a different little place. You wouldn't necessarily find it unless you were looking for it. And now we have to walk down a dark tunnel. But it does say enter here, so that means this is where we'll go. And the reason it's dark is because we're kicking it off with this beautiful drawing by Harmon, the drummer. And a lot of times they'll put drawings into dark places so that the light doesn't mess with it too much. Right next to it is another gorgeous drawing by Lorraine Shemesh. And it sounds like a Hungarian name to me, but that's one of my habits. I always look for Hungarian names. But this is really a beauty. Here, I'm going to do the zoom out so you can see it. Then we have another drawing by Sidney Goodman. In the main collection, where you see the actual painting that this is probably a study for, is generally out there in the main collection. I believe this time it is part of the Go Figure show. Here we have a Ron Barron with Tom Underreiner, Me and the Vitruvian Man. And this is a digital print with modifications and stuff. All right, now we're going to go through the dark, and now comes the construction noises. So I'm going to talk a little extra loud. Here is a beauty by Sherry McGraw. I remember seeing this in the solo show she had here, and I was so happy that it stayed in the Butler collection. She is just a master of the gold and the glow and that beautifully done dress. All right, here we've got a Harvey Dinnerstein. There are several Harvey Dinnersteins in the Butler collection. I'm not sure how many they have total, but there's two of them that are out that I see all the time, which are beautiful. And it would be nice if this one could go out too, but I'm glad it's out here right now. This one is The Collector, a portrait of Phil Desinde. There's probably a way to pronounce it, but I don't know what that is. But Harvey Dinnerstein, look at the way he did the books. And it's really beautiful. And he's got these packages there. Galleries are always receiving packages and shipping packages. Here is Frederick Andrew Bosley, portrait of Eleanor Greenwood. And this one is an older piece. Bosley lived from 1881 to 1942. This painting is from 1918. So it's an older piece, and this is really quite lovely. It really is lovely. So I'm glad that we're getting to see it. Then this is the one that's on the postcard. It is Charles Webster Hawthorne, Girl in Yellow Scarf and Yellow Rose. And there's just a lot of beautiful, crunchy painting there. Crunchy, but realistic. When you pull it back, it's real. It's paint, but it's real. And it's real, but it's paint. Then we have this beauty by Robert Jensen, Diamond Belt Weigh-In from 1992. Okay, so this one's fairly recent. Nice cluster of humanity and great excuse to show a lot of people in one very small area. Now the Butler, from the paintings that I've seen at the Butler over the many years that I've been coming here, they do not have nudes out on display. It's something that they just don't have a lot of. I don't know if they have a lot in storage, but they just don't have them out on display. So I'm glad that this Philip Pearlstein is out here, 2 models lying on the floor. Philip Pearlstein is one of the crossover figurative artists that has also made a big name in the contemporary art world. So like you'll find Philip Pearlsteins in contemporary collections. Now, Everet Raymond Kinsler, okay, he is one of the portrait biggies. So you'll see a lot of his work at the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C., because he's painted a lot of presidents and the president's wives, and he is, Katharine Hepburn, he's painted everybody. He very recently passed away, maybe a year and a half ago, and he was one of the big ones at the Portrait Society. I'm focusing here because maybe you will notice the thing I love on this painting, the way he handled the wedding ring. Will Barnet is the subject of this painting, and Will Barnet is a painter himself, and I just adore how he handled the wedding ring on there. I'm focusing in on it because maybe I will steal that someday. That's one of those Picasso things, great artists steal, good artists copy, blah, 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 something, something, something. But that's just a beautiful way to handle that. Now we have a Raphael Sawyer. Raphael Sawyer was one of the ones who Jose Cintron, my first best portrait teacher back at the Cleveland Institute of Art, introduced me to Raphael Sawyer, not in person, but his work. And he has such I'm going to say, a sweet humbleness about the way he paints. And I'm going to do a contrast and compare for those who are paying attention or care. We've got the portrait by Raymond Kinsler. Kinsler is a bravura painter. He paints with absolute supreme confidence. He's a flamboyant portrait painter. I'm sure he charms and delights everybody who he paints. They have become best friends and all that. And he paints them flamboyantly and beautifully and skillfully and confidently. Compare and contrast, Raphael Sawyer I see as a humble painter. He bows to humanity. He doesn't try to master it and make it flamboyant. He humbles himself in front of humanity and puts together these beautiful, sensitive portrait pieces. There's one I can think of in particular that I saw 35, 40 years ago that is just amazing. I'm going to have to look it up now. I don't have it with me to flip into there because remember, this is a pop-up living figuratively, so it's a little bit spontaneous. But anyway, that was my compare and contrast. Here's another painter. Okay, Joseph Shepard, and this painting is called Parade. Joseph Shepard, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's a little bit of a weird guy painter. And I might be wrong, but I have a book of his work at home because it was something that I found in a museum gift shop back in the days when I didn't know who figurative artists were. And if I saw somebody, a figurative artist that I'd never heard of that was painting realistically, I bought their book. His book is a little bit freaky, and I think, I'm not positive, but he is the one that paints himself with a nude model sitting on his lap as like a self-portrait. I might be wrong, so I'm going to do a little disclaimer. I'm going to look that up and find out whether that is the same artist that I'm thinking of. We've got beautiful Andrew Wyeth here. Andrew Wyeth is of Helga fame. He's the one that was obsessed with and painted Helga 1,000 times And this one is watercolor. He did a lot of his egg temperas. It's just stunningly beautiful. So I'm glad that we have that in the Butler collection. Here we have Dr. Endor Poposhi Job is the painter. Judo Grandmaster Keiko Fukada. She is a judo grandmaster, and isn't that an amazingly cool thing? And this is a really beautiful, I love how she's holding her hands too. They're at rest, but you never know. She's gonna defend herself if she needs to. Then we have this beauty here. It's John Winslow's In the Studio, June 1980. Right after I graduated from high school, June 1980. And this is just a very complex, lots of stuff, big, beautiful painting. Which it's too bad it's not out a lot. Okay, we came back to this room. Now we're gonna go to the super noisy part, but maybe it'll be worth it because we're gonna get to see a Cecilia Beau, who, unless I am mistaken, is one of the only 2 women artists that are represented in this Go Figure show. So here's the Cecilia Beau. This one is normally out on display up in the room with the little horse's butt, the sergeant's horse's butt, which that's for Kathy Rogers. That's one of my favorite little paintings, and so it's also one of hers. This one right here, Eastman Johnson, Feather Duster Boy. But let's go back to the Cecilia Beau, even though it's a little bit noisy. I'm just gonna zoom around and you can just take a gander at how gorgeously painted this is. Really just beautiful. All right, Clyde Singer, Dancers, 1962, the year I was born. This is how they were dancing. Oh, sorry about the noise. We're gonna go right here. This is the big painting. Remember the drawing we saw out there? This is the big painting of it. I'm gonna finish up with one more figurative piece. I was looking over here, it's like, is this figurative? This isn't figurative, but whoa, it is figurative. If you light the shadows the right way, we've got another piece of figurative art. I'm gonna finish because it's so noisy, but I will join you in just a few minutes. We're gonna go up to the Allied Artists Show. See you in a bit.